Mexico finds itself embroiled in a heated debate over proposed judicial reforms, a topic that has captured the nation's attention. The reforms, championed by President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, aim to overhaul the country's judicial system, promising sweeping changes. However, critics argue that the proposed changes threaten the very foundation of judicial independence, a cornerstone of any democratic society. At the heart of the controversy lies a proposal to elect judges by popular vote, a move that has never been attempted in Mexico's history. This measure, while presented as a way to increase accountability, has sparked widespread concern among legal experts and the general public alike. Opponents argue that it could politicize the judiciary, making judges beholden to political interests rather than the rule of law, thus compromising their impartiality. The proposed reforms go beyond the election of judges, encompassing a broad spectrum of changes. They include a reduction in the number of Supreme Court justices, a move that could significantly alter the balance of power within the judiciary, and the creation of new administrative bodies designed to oversee judicial conduct and efficiency. Proponents argue that these changes are necessary to address corruption and inefficiency within the judicial system, which they claim has long been plagued by these issues. They believe that a more streamlined and accountable judiciary will better serve the Mexican people. However, critics remain skeptical of these promises. They fear that these changes will concentrate too much power in the hands of the executive branch, further eroding the separation of powers that is vital for democracy. The debate over judicial reform has polarized Mexican society, creating deep divisions among its citizens. On one side are those who support President López Obrador's vision for a transformed judiciary, seeing it as a path to justice. They view the reforms as a necessary step to dismantle a system they believe is rigged against the poor and marginalized, offering hope for a fairer future. On the other side are those who fear that the reforms will undermine the rule of law and erode democratic institutions, leading to greater instability. They see the proposed changes as an assault on the checks and balances that are essential for a functioning democracy, warning of potential authoritarianism. The battle lines have been drawn, and the stakes are high, as Mexico stands at a crossroads in its judicial and political future. The controversy surrounding Mexico's proposed judicial reforms has spilled over into the international arena, drawing significant attention from various global stakeholders. U.S. Ambassador to Mexico Ken Salazar recently voiced concerns about the reforms, sparking a diplomatic row between the two countries. His comments have ignited a firestorm of reactions from both sides of the border.
Salazar, in a statement that was widely reported in both Mexican and international media, warned that the proposed changes could have a detrimental impact on Mexico's democracy. He emphasized the potential risks involved. He expressed particular concern about the proposal to elect judges, arguing that it could erode judicial independence and undermine the rule of law. Salazar's remarks have been a focal point of intense debate.
Salazar's comments were met with swift and sharp condemnation from the Mexican government, which viewed his statements as an overreach. President López Obrador accused the U.S. ambassador of meddling in Mexico's internal affairs, a charge that has further strained diplomatic relations. He insisted that Mexico is a sovereign nation and will not tolerate foreign interference in its decision-making processes. This stance has been echoed by many Mexican citizens. The Mexican Foreign Ministry summoned Salazar to express its displeasure and demand an explanation for his remarks, highlighting the gravity of the situation. The diplomatic spat highlights the sensitivity surrounding the issue of judicial reform in Mexico, a topic that has been contentious for years. The U.S. ambassador's comments have also drawn criticism from some quarters within the U.S., where opinions are divided on the matter. Critics argue that Salazar's remarks were counterproductive and have only served to inflame tensions between the two countries, potentially jeopardizing future cooperation. They believe that the U.S. should be working to strengthen its relationship with Mexico, not undermining it. Diplomatic ties are crucial for both nations. They point out that Mexico is a key ally of the U.S. on a range of issues, from trade to immigration to security. The bilateral relationship is multifaceted and vital. They argue that the U.S. should be supporting Mexico's efforts to strengthen its democracy, not criticizing them. Constructive engagement is seen as the best path forward. The Mexican government has reacted angrily to U.S. Ambassador Ken Salazar's comments on the country's proposed judicial reforms, which have sparked significant debate both domestically and internationally. President López Obrador, a fierce critic of foreign interference in Mexico's affairs, accused Salazar of overstepping his bounds and meddling in matters that are none of his concern. He emphasized that such comments are unacceptable and infringe upon Mexico's autonomy. He insisted that Mexico is a sovereign nation and will not be dictated to by any foreign power, least of all the United States. Obrador's speech was filled with nationalistic fervor, rallying his supporters to stand firm against external pressures.
The president's comments reflect a deep-seated resentment among many Mexicans towards what they perceive as U.S. imperialism. This sentiment has historical roots, dating back to past conflicts and interventions. Mexico's foreign minister, Marcelo Ebrard, summoned Ambassador Salazar to lodge a formal complaint. The meeting was tense, underscoring the seriousness with which Mexico views this issue. Ebrard, in a terse statement following the meeting, reiterated Mexico's position that the proposed judicial reforms are an internal matter. He stressed that foreign opinions should not influence Mexico's legislative process. He emphasized that the Mexican government is committed to upholding the rule of law and strengthening democratic institutions. These reforms, he argued, are essential for the country's progress and stability. However, he made it clear that Mexico will not be bullied into changing course by external pressure. The government remains steadfast in its resolve to pursue its own path.
The diplomatic spat has cast a shadow over U.S.-Mexico relations, which are already complex and multifaceted. This incident adds another layer of tension to an already delicate relationship. The Mexican government's response to Salazar's comments has been met with mixed reactions within Mexico. Public opinion is divided, reflecting the broader political landscape. Supporters of President López Obrador have applauded his strong stance against what they see as U.S. interference. They believe that defending national sovereignty is paramount. They view the U.S. ambassador's comments as an attempt to undermine the president's reform agenda and maintain U.S. hegemony in the region. This perspective is shared by many who are wary of U.S. intentions. Critics, however, have accused the president of overreacting and damaging Mexico's relationship with its most important trading partner. They warn that such actions could have economic repercussions. They argue that the government should be engaging in constructive dialogue with the U.S., not resorting to nationalist rhetoric. Finding a balance between asserting sovereignty and maintaining diplomatic ties is crucial. The international community has started to express concerns over the proposed judicial reforms in Mexico. Many fear that the changes could undermine judicial independence and weaken democratic institutions. Political analysts around the world are closely watching the situation, as the outcome could have far-reaching implications for the rule of law in Mexico and beyond.
The proposed reforms, while aimed at addressing corruption and inefficiency, raise significant questions about the balance of power within the Mexican government. By electing judges and reducing the number of Supreme Court justices, there's a real risk of politicizing the judiciary. This could lead to a situation where judges are more accountable to political pressures than to the law itself.
The debate is not just a domestic issue for Mexico, it has captured the attention of governments and organizations worldwide. They are concerned about the potential for these reforms to set a precedent that could be followed by other countries facing similar issues. The stakes are indeed high, and the world is watching closely to see how Mexico navigates this complex and contentious issue.
Many of us are worried that these reforms will undermine the independence of our judiciary. It's a serious concern for the future of our democracy.
Critics argue that the proposed reforms could lead to increased political influence over the judiciary, compromising its ability to act impartially. In response to the proposed reforms, judicial workers have gone on strike and protests have erupted across Mexico. The streets are filled with demonstrators demanding that the government reconsider its stance. The situation is tense, with both sides firmly holding their ground. As the political situation intensifies, economic concerns are beginning to surface. Investors are growing increasingly anxious about the potential for instability.
The uncertainty surrounding these reforms is causing significant unease in the markets. Investors fear that prolonged instability could have serious economic repercussions.
With the economy already facing challenges, the prospect of further instability is a worrying development for many.
President López Obrador is committed to his policies and has the full support of our Congressional Supermajority. This unity is crucial in navigating these challenging times.
Despite the diplomatic tensions, President López Obrador's administration remains resolute, bolstered by a strong backing from Congress. This support provides a solid foundation for his governance. The recent exchanges have undoubtedly strained the relationship between the US and Mexico.
Yes, the situation is quite delicate. Both nations have much to lose if these tensions escalate further. It's a complex interplay of diplomacy and national interests.
Indeed, the future of US-Mexico relations hangs in the balance, with both sides weighing their options carefully. As the diplomatic dance continues, the people on both sides of the border watch closely.
We just want to see our leaders find a way to work together. It's important for the stability and prosperity of both our countries.
The sentiments of ordinary citizens reflect the broader hope for a resolution that benefits all. Ultimately, the path forward will require dialogue, compromise, and a shared commitment to justice. Both nations must strive to find common ground, ensuring a peaceful and prosperous future for all.